Welcome back to Spiritual Devil. It is Friday, September 23rd. However, you will see this on Monday, September the 26th. I have a total of 4 videos that I need to make before I complete this series as I finish up my work here. This is my 2-week notice, by the way. And I'm on day 5 of having performed 100 push-ups. This time it only took about 40 minutes to accomplish that for me. The first time it took the entire day. Well, maybe closer to half the day, with a break in the middle of the day. The second time I did it on the trail at the place where I'm about to be. The third time I was doing it in the comfort of my own dwelling, where I was able to perform 22 push-ups at a time. The fourth time it was about the same. It's like I intermittently did about between 10 and 20 push-ups, primarily focusing on trying to reach 20 at a time. And really the only thing is trying to assess my recovery time. How long or how little of an amount of time can I wait before I perform the next 20 without my muscles becoming fatigued beyond being able to accomplish the task. So right now what I'm doing is building up basic endurance in my own personal assessment of what I'm doing to revamp my own health. And to build up personal endurance takes actual effort, work. What was it used to call, what did we call it in school? Joules of energy. I'm not sure if that's a proper term or not. I'm not an accredited scholar among my scholarly viewers. And at the same time, I have a feeling that the way that I'm processing things is about the same way that you process things. And so if we're consuming a lot of highly processed, in other words, interpreted for us, if we're exposing ourselves to highly processed content, like edited videos, modified foods, something that doesn't include the natural that's around us, we may be exposing ourselves to things that we cannot understand. We can certainly interpret everything that we're receiving, but what if everything that we receive puts us in more and more of a hostile state, to where even the mere conversation pointing out basic nuances among our observations might cause some of us to suddenly stop talking with one another, or to feel the reason to stop contributing towards one another's well-being. If I told you that my shortcomings were simply having the luxury of the time that it took to accomplish certain things, and if you understood time equals money, and if you understood the reasons why I was foregoing what would be translated energetically into health, foregoing money, if you understood why I was doing that to accomplish what I am accomplishing, then you might immediately understand my desire to translate this exact thing that I'm doing, which is sharing good news, into making money. And in quite a number of instances, many of you have seen that I've done that. I just had a butterfly land on and die on my hood. These butterflies that are flying through right now are taxed in terms of, well, he got back up. He didn't die. I spoke too soon. I had a butterfly fall almost unconscious on my hood. And then it came back. But the reason that it was taxed was because it wasn't receiving the sustenance that it needed to get from point A to point B. In order to truly be wealthy, my friends, you must have the food of the wealthy. You cannot possibly consume the food of the infirm and achieve your health results. The infirmities are many, but most of it starts with understanding that there is a processing, a packaging process that occurs with many of the things that we are consuming. And if the packaging is such that we are errantly discarding needless amounts of garbage into the economy, into the environment, then it's possible that we are going to fall ill. If we are not the ones participating in making our surroundings ill, in many ways, we can raise our own vibration. We can raise our energy levels. Yesterday, I invested a good deal of dollars energy into sustenance, into food for birds. I believe I spent almost $200 US on bird food. And that bird food is not only well received by the animals that it is earmarked for, but it is necessary because a lot of the travelers right now, like the butterfly that landed and fell over on my hood, a lot of the travelers are weary. They don't have the energy that it takes to make it from point A to point B. So all of this food that I bought, all of this bird food that I bought, came from money, from energy, from reserves. I haven't even received my income tax rebate yet. I've been advised that I need to write my local council person, my local representative, in order to simply receive that which was rightfully mine, so that I could hopefully be more able, comfortably, to provide food and nourishment for that which is around me. Don't worry, friends, no matter what has happened, I've been blessed, in some cases by my own participants, by you, with the ability to provide for some who otherwise would not be provided for at all. So when the wealth is shared with me, I try to multiply it in so many ways that it takes a great deal of time to manifest at the multiple levels that someone is like myself is trying to manifest at. So, in order for me to accomplish what it is that we see as a possibility, I do require some investors. I, in a way, am participating in this economy in the only way that I can see that would allow us the possibility of me never having to worry about, well, the bird feed was $200. And if I never have to worry about it, I can put my mind at ease and think about other work that needed to be accomplished. So So let me resume the topic that I initially started this bird feed story as, which is the topic of sustainability. It's a tough topic. It's a very challenging subject right now. All of this bird feed that I got was from a quality supplier of these products. That quality supply of products translates into healthier food for the animals who are consuming it. In those products, there is a transactional cost. The delivery, the amount of time it took to get things from point A to point B versus having the natural landscape that would have done that to begin with. The placement, the timing of nutrients, all of these things are important. And on top of all of that, there is the cost of the packaging. In every case, for this place where I bought this quality product from, in every case, the packaging comes in something that is not as sustainable as some alternative. However, for the manufacturer, it is extremely profitable to shortcut this thing that seems like something we can use as a shortcut because it's given to us as an option. As I pass this sea of plastic all around me, it's all around. There's no mistaking it. As I ask for help voicing these concerns and write songs targeting the subject material, as I showcase things like wild bears gathering in unnatural ways, only it's 100% natural. As I showcase these things and remind people about, in my country, all of these circumstances that are occurring, the fires, the flooding, the repeated flooding, Death Valley, the droughts, as I talk about all of these things, as if they are memories of things that we can change, the only way I can think of to change these issues around me are to take charge. Take the lead role and showcase, as an example, just how we do these things. How do we achieve these feats, if not by taking action? And the only time that we can really recognize sometimes responsibly whether someone has taken action or not is to first acknowledge whether action was necessary. If action was not necessary, like if none of this plastic on the side of the roads had to be picked up, maybe we don't need to acknowledge it. However, we do have the responsibility to recall that these bird foods that I'm purchasing to help the birds in my area to persist in these drought and extreme condition times all comes in the same packaging that I'm seeing strewn about all over and around me. So, therein is the question, that the $1 million question that must be answered, whether you decide to contribute or not. If there are products that are already manufactured and we continue to persist by buying new products over and over without considering repairing those products that we already have, if we're only concerned about a new warranty for another item to be generated and put into circulation among all of the sea of destruction that's already there, there's a cost. There's a cost associated with that. And we need to recognize it. Without recognizing something is there to begin with, we can frequently overlook the absolute probability of correcting something. If only we were to recognize that there was something we could correct to begin with. We're at that same area where these lines are in such a way that someone just drove through the emergency lane to get into the lane that I'm in. In order for me to focus on all of these things and to focus the energy to the point where you can understand there's a lot going on around me, there's a sea of activity, and I am not going to let go of the fact that even though I'm able to accomplish great things in this great nation, a lot of the great destruction is occurring still at my own hands. And in many regards, without knowing you personally, the destruction is occurring at your hands as well. So we have to acknowledge at some point that some of the practices that we preach, we might need to be held accountable for. If we're preaching that we don't want people bleaching, we don't want parasites like mosquitoes sucking off all of the energy, and instead we want to build something that's sustainable, that's not built off of the piggybacking of robbing energy from one another unnecessarily, then we have to acknowledge that creating more permanent, one-time use destruction is part of the problem. If I knew that, if my education system taught that, if our forefathers, or any of our fathers, where are the fathers, by the way? On this channel, I do a lot of leapfrogging between one topic and another. But I'm not distancing myself from the ultimate objective, which is, are we bringing joy to one another? For me, the funnest, most entertaining songs that I've shared don't seem to bring joy to anybody. Most people who see these songs will comment explicitly on what I need to do, how I need to pick up the trash that I'm seeing. Never recognizing that every time they launch a stone, the stone is usually a self-reflection. It's when people become quiet and no longer reflect back to me that I understand they're simply paying attention. They have to watch at this point, mostly to make sure, in a narcissistic way, that I'm not telling a bad story about something. In this particular journey, the story that I'm explaining right now is of such importance that we know basically something that would take a revolution, practically. But the truth of all of the matter is peace is peace. Peace will be restored whether we participate or not. And if we're participating in the name of peace, everything we need will always be offered to us in our time of need. That's basically something that a lot of scholarly people and pagan people would reference as karma, law of attraction. You know what attracts and is attracted and is attractive to you. You know. Health is wealth. The more that we recognize how the simplicity of peace begins with ourselves, the more we can recognize and stop diagnosing ourselves with conditions that are only backed up by laws. As I pass more plastic, a lot of flowers, no butterflies on these flowers. In fact, no butterflies in this particular area. They were all streaming on the other side of the town. They're like a river. The butterflies follow their path, and also the butterflies are typically following the air currents. All of these things are just things to notice instead of to stonewall one another. If you watch yesterday's video, you remember why I talked about the word stonewall. If you didn't hear, and by yesterday's video, I mean Friday's video, in other words, look back to the last video. Maybe I'll even link it in this video. Who knows? But if you didn't hear why we talked about stonewall, go back in time. Use this time machine wisely. Go back in time. Review the points that you missed before. Reassess the way that you feel towards one another, maybe even towards yourself. And don't forget, if we are not the judge, we are only here to process and observe what it is that's occurring. Thank you for joining me on this amazing journey. Thank you for riding along for so long. I hope you don't miss me too much. I put in my 2-week notice at the beginning of the week, or a week ago even. And there's not much more to say. The only thing left is there are plenty of actions that we need to take in order to course correct. If we're not going to course correct, we might continue on this journey of destruction where only the strong will survive. Anyway, these are just my thoughts. Until next time, I've reached my destination. This will be my Monday video. I hope, again, that you travel back in time and look at the past, what's been said, and try to remember that I'm not trying to bring misfortune to my group. I'm not trying to damage the environment. with my purchases, and I would like to acknowledge that all of the prior ways that we practiced in the past, which we said we could not continue, are 100% alive and well. The trade of, even for an example, work, the being paid for work that was performed, the erasing of the history of the history makers, to where some people did not receive the credit that they more than deserved. All of these things are things that we can recognize without becoming insolent, without becoming intolerant, without becoming angry. If anything, a lot of this in a lighter mood seems humorous. And I do not mean this in a crass way. Think about the injustices that we've leveraged against one another for so long. Think about the injustices that are happening right now about family members being robbed by their own family members. Think about generational wealth and how it has always occurred in this society. And know that when I talk about these things, I'm talking about it from a personal experience. Some of this you may not understand. You may never have been wronged the ways that I have been wronged. But that's the same for me. I probably have never been wronged the ways that you have been wronged. So to see the perspective and to understand the mirror and to push back the negative progress, the negative gains, and turn them into your strengths, that's something that many people don't know how to do because there's no spark of joy inside. There's no happiness. When there's no happiness, we can mistreat others as long as we consider mistreating ourselves. For some of us, we have great expectations for ourselves, and so we want nothing but the best for ourselves. And so we would do the same for anyone who we encounter. We would want nothing for the best for anyone who we encounter, even the butterfly that falls exhausted on our hood. Even the poor choice of words that I used when I said that there was a deceased butterfly. I was speaking before it actually had happened in that case. But it's also something that I've witnessed enough to where there's a different perception from my eyes than yours. The way I hear conversations though right now are right here. Every other thing that I've ever talked about recently has just been the same thing. I see people's eyes become teary. They want to cry because of the things they're recognizing alongside me. Of course, I would like to cry also, but I'm being called upon to do a lot of work. And in so doing, it's taken a lot of my time. So if you're frustrated by some of the things that I'm saying because they cause a little bit of anxiety, remember, first we have to recognize there is anxiety to begin with, and then, well, how do we deal with that kind of feeling? If someone's telling you something that makes you anxious, if it's just true information, are we going to pass out if someone tells us so much truth that we can't process it? We need it processed for us. That's a dangerous state of mind to be in. Those are just my non-degreed thoughts when I'm many more times degreed than at least a few of my counterparts. Who knows? When people unlock their true potential, who we have around us, Who knows when somebody consumes food differently and becomes that which they are consuming? Who knows what we could do, what we could accomplish in how short of an amount of time? Who knows? There was this guy going on tour recently to sell a book that they wrote. The title was something like, "We've got to at least try. We've got to try something. We've got to continue to try," something like that. This guy had a line of people waiting to talk with him. And I agree. We've got to try something. We've got to at least try. I never got to meet with that guy because they got sick. I start to wonder, if we're all resorting to things that cause ill health. And in some instances, we're simply overlooking that when we put these ideas out there that we've got to at least try, that the change we need to try, that we feel anxious about, it's only going to cause anxiety until we actually start to try. When we start to try with the mindset and kindness of a child, we start to try to figure out, well, what works? That didn't work. Let me try this. That didn't work. Let me try this. What if the packaging that we had for all of these high quality foods, what could we do to take better care of one another in these circumstances? First, we have to acknowledge that there are circumstances worth considering. And then, only then, will we start to pay attention to where the attention is needed. So, among my peers, friends and family, today's Monday. I've got 2 more videos to make on this upcoming Thursday and Friday. I hope to have told you that I've made a lot of progress by then. With the rate that things have happened so far, all I can say is every day it's been a challenge where I have to help to present to the authority that there is something going on, and then they still, in the long run, cover up my name anyway, while continuing to display my work. I have to continue to carry that emotion, what it must feel like to talk about the migrants who died in the back of the semi here in San Antonio, to put it into a song, to think about it, to remember it. I have to remember what it must feel like to me myself have found a migrant in the desert. I have to wonder how it felt like. Because without thinking in those perceptions, in those perspectives, from someone else's standpoint, how does it feel to be the migrant, for an example? Without thinking like that, I can never understand that even though I'm pouring these foods into all of the places that they need to go, every additional piece of destructive wrapping that comes with it is causing an additional heartache. How do I take a time out? How do I take a fast break? From what we're surely all going to be presented with if we don't take a little bit of time to acknowledge one another. My name is Ray. Howdy from Texas. Welcome back. I'm going to be taking a break, in case you didn't catch that in the first bits here, because of the stone wall that's been occurring. And I'm going to continue. Faster, slower, with and without hindsight. Guided only on the fact that there is a possibility of bringing joy to one another, or that I'm taking away from it somehow. I hope that I've brought you some kind of a thought process that allows you to at least acknowledge some things without becoming anxious. That in itself is a great achievement. To be able to recognize, just got that in just barely in time. I just cracked the windows open, which I normally leave them cracked open to ventilate the car, especially on these 100-degree days. And the power kicked off for the car like right after I did that. Some of the things that we feel in our mind, that we feel, hey, I feel like I have to do this, they'll keep scratching away on the inside of your mind if they're more important. This wasn't too important. I could turn the car back on, roll the windows down, get on with life. There are certain things like, have you talked with your loved one recently? Like really talked with them? Were you able to communicate with them when you talked? Or did you just have one of those pleasant conversations? Well, the last thing we talked about was this, so I was so glad I got to see them at that holiday, at that manufactured holiday where we practiced the rituals that had nothing to do with what we were about to be judged for as we passed on to the next levels, supposedly. What feels good in your heart is the kind of thing that would make someone else look on and smile in the same way that your heart is smiling. If your heart is frowning, calloused, cracked, broken, there are ways to heal. You just have to really sometimes take things a little slower. But recognize, in this world, some people will never take the time to get to know you if you wanted to take things slower. They only want the quick result, only the immediate satisfaction. And then they're gone. So, till next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.